Thanks for being back with me. Well, I'm still celebrating the 50th anniversary birthday party of Cape May Mac, and I have another wonderful chapter to tell you about tonight. I mentioned that the arts organization, then the Mid-Atlantic Center for the Arts, decided the only way we could get cooperation from the city is to try to win seats on city council. Well, in '72, the election that took place in November was an absolute vote of confidence in our position that preservation would be the best thing for Cape May. Much to our own amazement, believe me, we won 2 out of 3 council seats, which gave us a majority. And we ended up that night having a wonderful celebration at Gus Andy's La Mer Motel restaurant. I think I remember it. It might look like the end of Prohibition in America in this picture. And I think there was probably enough drinks being passed around that left everybody in wonderful, wonderful spirits. But Bruce and Jerry Underwise Sr. Joined seats on City Council. And Bruce, one of the first acts that he was able to take was to contact contact HUD and get the loan to purchase the Physick Estate reinstated. And with that in hand, they were able to sign the papers and okay the purchase of the Physick Estate using that HUD money, which made it a city property. The next step was to give a long-term lease to the Mid-Atlantic Center for the Arts, which would allow us to then be applying for other grant funds to help us with that process. Now, the 4 years of the Minix administration were really very, very important years for Cape May. The city that they took over was one that really was aiming in a direction to develop like Wildwood. The zoning ordinance was allowing 6-story motels to be developed all the way back to Columbia Avenue. There were no requirements for sidewalks, curb cuts were allowed right out to the street to provide for parking, no buffer zones. The town really would have become kind of a concrete jungle following the zoning ordinance. So with a new master plan, a new zoning ordinance, and a new dedication in Cape May towards preservation, we then started attracting homeowners and business owners that felt this is a town I want to be with. And this is the time that numerous buildings were restored, some as bed and breakfast inns, other as quaint little restaurants, shops. The Washington Street Mall was created and had a whole changeover in that area of town. And it ended with a wonderful event. Cape May City was declared a National Historic Landmark. That is something that very, very few cities have ever acquired. Even in a famous city like Charleston, South Carolina, there are individual structures that are National Historic Landmarks, but in our case, the entire city was made a National Historic Landmark. To celebrate that, we created a landmark symbol, and I'm wearing it. You might recognize that as the onion-shaped dome on the top of Cape May Stage, a former church, and this announces that Cape May City is a National Historic Landmark. You could have gotten one of these ties back then at Barry's clothing store, where Frailinger's Candy Shop is today, one of the old-fashioned haberdasheries of Cape May, and I still treasure these. I'm actually kind of famous for wearing older clothes. My wife jokes with me when I put on a suit that I got from my mother helped me buy at Barry's Clothing, and I wore it to Betsy Craig's wedding many, many years ago. And I'm happy to say it still fits, and I still enjoy wearing it. Maybe I'll put that on for one of my next presentations. Thanks for being with me again.